All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us this last week of February. And I'm excited to see where the end of the month goes because we've got a great, I just feel like this is so generous of them to do $1 enrollment fee. Like that is just so incredible. But today I'm going to chat a little bit about kind of the difference between courage and confidence, because I do think that in our business, first of all, this is a business where we know so much of it resides up here. Our success, our progress, our view of failure, our ability to be resilient and pick ourselves up after something that is a real or perceived failure, all of this stuff resides up here, right? And sometimes we get bombarded with life and things like that. And so how we get through those difficult or challenging or maybe even just busy times it really can determine whether or not we've had progress in a month or not. So, but one of the things I do think can often hold people back, especially brand new ambassadors or ambassadors who have had a series of what they perceive to be failures, maybe going backwards in points or something like that, losing a runner or that kind of thing. It's confidence. And people assume that they must have confidence in order to move forward. And actually, that is just not true. I think about, like, I want you right now, in fact, I'll just stop talking for just a minute. I want you to write down 3 times in your life where you have just said, okay, let's do it. You have no confidence in what the outcome is necessarily going to be. You might want the outcome to be something amazing, but I don't know, it could be riding a bike. It could be going on a zip line. It could be like you've never done it before. It's the first time. You just got to choose to do it. So real quick, write down 3 times in your life where you've just done it, taken a step, okay, without having any kind of experience to give you confidence. Okay, you don't have to think about this too much. All right. All right, we got a couple people joining us. Okay, so you just wrote down 3 times in your life where you had no experience in what you were about to do, but you just did it. So therefore because of no experience, you have no confidence, but you did it anyway. And you know what the first thing was I wrote down? Getting married. I mean, I had never been married before. I mean, I had to just say yes and do it. And I wanted to do it. And I had hope that the outcome would be amazing. But I mean, I really didn't know, right? And sure, yes, we did the pastoral counseling and all that stuff. But I mean, that's giving birth. You have to do it once before you can do it a second time or third time or 5 times later. I mean, there's all kinds of things in our life, right? Where we have no experience, therefore no confidence, but we do it anyway. And I think about little kids, like they just get up and start walking. They just try to ride the bike. My daughter just gets behind the wheel. And for the first time, much to her mother's high anxiety. But, we do all these things even to the point of buying a brand our mom didn't buy and trying that, or going to a store you've never been to before and you muddle through it. I think about the first time I ever went to an IKEA. You want to talk about I had no confidence. I was like, what is this place? It was like a jungle. And then I lost my mom and there was no cell phone service. And it was but we muddled through it and we did fine. And I I can't remember if I bought anything or not, actually. I think the lines may have been too long. But my point is, we entered, we did it. We had no confidence in our and necessarily shopping skills at IKEA. But anyway, I'm being kind of ridiculous. But how does that translate into doing something in your business? Have you ever looked at your perks report? And maybe you just need the courage to do your perks report one time, and then you'll have the confidence to learn from that and move on. All right, but a couple of things to think about when it comes to having courage over confidence. Number one, it's literally the case for everything. Like everything, from buying a different brand of detergent than you normally have, to going into a store, to giving birth, to whatever in your life. Okay, and confidence comes from believing that we can do it, but courage is giving it a go despite our fear. So, and it really comes down to the fact that you guys, in anything in our life, in order to build confidence in it, we first have to have the courage to do it. And so when you see it that way, by just doing it, I just feel like it makes everything, if you translate it to your business, it makes everything like, oh, okay, so I'm going to host an online event for the first time, and I'm going to muddle through it. And I have never had an ambassador ever in my 6 years do an event on their own that they didn't learn something from it, even if it was so bad or like no one showed up. They still learned something from it. And isn't that a powerful and comforting thought when you think about doing something new in your business? Okay, and then so what happens is when you finally have the courage to do it, confidence helps you repeat the success or make changes to the failure, the experience you've had, and courage makes you unstoppable to keep going. We often confuse confidence with courage. Like people will say, I don't have enough confidence, but really what they're saying is, I'm not sure I can follow through with it. That is what happens in our business. In fact, I had someone ask me, how do I get wholesalers translate into business builders? And maybe not even like major business builders, but just someone who wants to get their products paid for. And what a good question that is, because sometimes using the phrase, you can get your products paid for, doesn't really work for somebody, because they were willing to pay for it anyway. They're willing to put it in their budget and so on. But when we use an event to get somebody to help, to get people to come in and be accountable and so on. But really what I think what happens with a lot of people who go silver is then they don't have the courage. They don't believe that they will actually follow through with here on out. It takes a special person. It takes some real resiliency and fortitude to move past that fear that you will not follow through with something. So I thought that was kind of an interesting byproduct of somebody saying that they don't have confidence. And so having that idea in your head, maybe even saying to someone, I will help you follow through with these people and make sure that they're successful too. That might actually really resonate with someone who wants to share about, let's say, the Joyome event coming up, because they've had such great results with the skincare, but they're not really confident what to do with those people after they join. And that's when your verbiage and language can come in and say, well, hey, I'm going to help you follow through with them. Okay, so confidence is an end result of acting in courage. And here's the last point I want to make before we move on to our power hour, and that is that courage is contagious. You can't be around courageous people and it not wear off on you. So that begs the question, what courageous action can you make in your business, or even a courageous speech in your business to your team that could wear off on them, and then encourage them to have the courage to. I just realized that encourage has courage inside of it. How interesting is that? Let's just think about that for a minute. Okay, so that is my encouragement to you today is to have courage, let it be contagious to your team, and it will help build confidence in them, and hopefully they'll catch it and move on and build and progress as well. One thing we're going to hopefully talk about, I'm working on coffee chat for this Saturday, is like how to perceive progress as something, small progresses is something that's positive instead of aiming for perfection. So this kind of ties into that a little bit, doesn't it? All right, Amber, your turn.
Gosh, that was so good. I already have like a whole page of notes here. I love when you were talking about, you know, so basically like you've never done your perks reports. It can be scary. And I think so many times I just stop at like, I don't know how to do it. And then that's the end. And I was reading this morning, I'm listening to this, I keep forgetting what it's called, by Mel Robbins, a book about fear. And she was saying how you really need to be aware of how you face fear. So it's like it's either fight, flight, or freeze. And so I think I'm definitely a freeze and flight when it comes to things like simple as that, as a perks report, and just like probably like freeze, because I just stay real quiet. I don't tell anybody that I don't know how to do it. I'm a jewel. It's like, I mean, I do know how to do it now, but there's several things that will come up that I'm just like, I'm not going to say anything. I don't know how to do it. I'm not, embarrassed that I don't know how to do it. And just figuring it out, like doing it the first time, taking that time to learn is the funniest example. This morning, I posted something and it was affect or effect, E or A. And I was like, that is like, I always pride myself in knowing the TO, TOO, TWO, the theirs, whatever, but effect and effect, like I have no idea the rules behind that. Erin, you'll have to sit me down. And so I was like about to go on my day and just be like, like I just don't know. I don't know what the rules are. Instead of thinking like, hey, I can Google it. I can learn. So I had done, this happened right before I got on. So I plan to learn that today, but just like something so silly and little, but how do we do that so many times in our businesses, just something we don't know. And instead of taking the time to learn it and do it, like Erin was talking about, or doing something like that, you have to do it for the first time. I just went to an event. Erin and I spoke at an event of one of our newbies. She's doing amazing. She's taking off, and she's been in it a couple months, Erin, maybe. And she did her very first own gut health event, like what Autumn does, what Natalie does, she put on her own. And we were there and gave testimonies. And afterwards, she said, I was so scared to do this, but I thought I did so good and I loved it. Like, I just love that she said that. Like, she was so scared and she did do amazing. She was also prepped, so that's something too, is like, yeah, do it, but also get a little bit of education, so I'm going to go Google effect and effect. I'm not just going to start training on which one it is without doing a little bit of, so I think that was, that's a huge thing, is just like making sure that you're giving yourself that confidence and that courage by preparing for it, by, and it doesn't have to be a long thing. And, so for this girl, she has done probably 7 of these events with her sponsors, so she's gone to them, she's seen them, she did them, and now it's time for her to do it. But if she would have just stopped right there, she could have still invited people, but they wouldn't have that connection with her. It's some of us who have been here for years and years, we do have great resources, but there's also something about you being in front of people, even if it's just for community for your team. If you have one person, you need to be doing something with that person. You need to be creating community on your team. You need to step up as the leader. Like, don't keep leaning on the jewels to run your team. They signed up with you. You're the one they want community with. You're the one they want to see. So, and that can be just so scary. I think I wrote down one of my things that I just did was probably my first training. And I don't even remember what it was, but I had no, previous training, or when I trained for corporate, that was a huge thing, but just doing it, and doing it scared. I read somewhere this morning where it said, um, fear is wetting your pants and courage is proceeding with wet pants. I was like, that's so true. Like, we're going to be scared. But do it anyways. Just like that cliche, and so I think it's good to look at, like I said, are you fighting it when you're afraid? When you're afraid, are you saying like, okay, we're going to get through this, I'm going to do it anyways? Or are you my aunt, she is a runner. Anytime something's uncomfortable, anytime anything is like she doesn't want to do it, she's gone. You don't hear from her. And she says it all the time. She wouldn't care that I was saying this, maybe you don't know her, but she says she's a runner. She's flight. Or do you just freeze and you do nothing because you don't know what to do? So that, I've definitely been there for months in my business. There has been times where I was so scared, and so I just froze and I just did nothing. I just did nothing, instead of like, okay, what can I do? What can I move forward? What can I, So anyways, so we're going to do that now. We're going to give you what to do, so you have that, confidence, and then we're going to face some of our fears. So I talked last week a little bit about, working out of passion instead of working out of fear. And so I'm hoping you guys are getting that passion, that excitement for the Joyome event right now. It doesn't always have to be like this deep core passion. Like my deep core passion, Dexter, no bud, go watch your puppies. my deep core passion is the business of this business. But right now I'm super passionate about this event because I have seen it work. I have seen people's faces change. I have seen just the confidence that people can get by clearing up their skin. So I'm hoping you guys are passionate. So I just want to take a few seconds, like before we get to work, and we're gonna give you some verbiage to reach out to people. So here's the first thing I want you guys to do. Make sure you've posted in your stories, on your page. So I did like an engaging post last night. So if you haven't done an engaging post in a while, go look at my page, because that one is like taking off. It's like sounds that you've never heard, our kids will never hear, or like sayings that our kids will never hear, like roll up the window or whatever. So everybody is writing the sayings. So it's gotten a lot of engagement. Then I posted about Gracie. So I'll probably post on my stories right now, but I'll post on my Facebook later. But make sure because I've been like, I said to the Jewels yesterday, I was like, it's amazing how people are reaching out to me when I post. It's like, if you're consistently posting, and I think it's kind of good to like have a concentrated week or a few days or whatever, because they might miss it. But it's like the first time they saw my Joyome post, they're like, all right. Then they see it in my stories and they're like, oh, I didn't see the acne one. I had only seen the wrinkle ones. This might, and so now after maybe 3 or 4 posts that I've been doing like in a row, either alternating stories in my Facebook, people are reaching out. People are wanting to order. And so make sure that you're posting. If you haven't posted, I want you guys to do the engagement post. If not mine, then one that you think is really going to get people. And then tonight, promise me that you're going to post about Joyome. And you can always do it in your stories. So if you haven't done a story lately about Joyome, you can look at some of the Jewels ones. I think I have one up right now. I'm about to do a different one. So let's post. Then after that's done in this time, I want you to send out these messages. And this message is not maybe it's scary for you, but for me, it's Joyome's fun. You're not saying, hey, I noticed you're fat. Like, I have these weight loss products for you. No, it's saying like, everybody, this is a fun event. You can win $500. Like, they're going to be excited about it. And so for me, I feel like it's one of the less scary messages to send out just to anyone. You can send it out. I have a list from last year I got overwhelmed with Joyome. So I have this list that I'm reaching out to people about Joyome. But if you don't have a list or anything, just look through some of your, friends, send them this message. And then there's a link that goes with it that Rachel made. And it is amazing. Like it gives all the details. It, you know, said it gives before and after pictures. So I've been sending that as well. And I have people wanting to sign up. So okay, we'll get going and let's spend like, well, let's just start with like 15 minutes, maybe 20, yeah, 15 minutes. Take like a second and just kind of, if you're Christian, like just pray, like, God, like give me a passion for this, show me who needs these products, you know, I want to help my family. And then get to messaging, do your post, and let's spend some time working to put our fears to rest. And it does get easier when you do something over and over and over again. It gets easier. That first one might be hard, the second might be less hard, and then soon it's just super easy, and you're just have that confidence facing that fear. So all right, I'm gonna get to work, you're gonna get to work, and I'll put in the comments. Anything else, Erin, for right now? All right, let's do it. It's not time yet, but I'm also putting a few more messages in the chat, like an example of what you could send some of your ambassadors, especially the ones that like, want the business, but they're just like checked out or they're not really working. So that's a good message to send to them to get them excited about the event. And then underneath, it's if they're doing the 28-day challenge, there's a message that you can send out to them as well. So I'm going to look for a few other ones, but there's two more. If you're like, okay, I don't want to reach out to anybody new, like this is some good ideas too. Okay, how's everybody doing? I'm like getting all into work and forgetting that we're doing this thing. Oh, I see we've lost some people too. They're working on their own. Um, anything good stand out? I actually went back